You're listening to a Life in Quebec podcast. For more, visit lifeinquebec.com.
From the NHL to Northern Quebec, one man's quest to change young lives through sport. By me, Ruby Praka. For generations, many Quebecois have grown up with the dream of playing in the National Hockey League. Joé Juneau was one of the very few to actually get there. He played 13 seasons in the NHL from 1991 to 2004. After his playing days ended, Juneau was able to realize another lifelong dream, exploring Quebec's far north. When he stepped off a plane in Quebec in 2006, he had no idea that his life and the lives of hundreds of young Inuit hockey players would soon change forever. I went up there to do some snowmobiling and discover the land. I had always been drawn to the north. I wanted to get to know the culture and what it was like there. I saw a lot of kids who had no access to organized sport, and that pushed me to do something. When Juneau came back from that first trip, he met a friend who had worked in Nunavik for many years and developed strong links with local leaders. Working with his new contacts, Juneau was able to put in place the first organized youth hockey program in Nunavik. The first meeting took about 10 minutes, he recalls with a smile. The rest is youth sports history. The Nunavik Youth Hockey Development Program, run by Juneau and a team of coaches in conjunction with the Kativik School Board, has helped hundreds of children and teens discover organized hockey and stay in school, and produce some strong players and coaches as well. From the beginning, I wanted to set up a program with a strong education component, Juneau recalls, sitting in a park in Quebec City's Sainte-Foy neighborhood less than a week before flying to Inukjuak. The kids could go on the ice as long as they deserved it. The requirements were presence at school, good behavior, and effort. We wanted to use hockey to encourage the kids. Over the next 2 years, Juneau and his team visited all 14 towns in Nunavik, distributed hockey equipment, and explained the program to parents, teachers, and potential players, ending every day on the ice. It was as much a learning experience for Juneau as it was for the young athletes. I've met people not much older than me who were born in tents or in igloos, and today they're all in villages with hockey rinks and airports, he says. Everything has changed radically in the past 40 or 50 years. Nothing is simple. Despite the challenges, Juneau is adamant about not dwelling on what's going wrong in the north. A lot of our kids live in very challenging situations. For example, many families are very large and there's a gaping housing shortage. There's a lot of low self-esteem, which translates into a high suicide rate. And there's a high dropout rate. For some of them, just living their lives takes remarkable inner strength, he says, adding, "You need a certain discipline for hockey, and for some it's almost impossible because they're completely left to themselves. But I don't want to focus on the problems, and I certainly don't want to judge people. We're here to teach the kids hockey." Every time you hear about Nunavik here, it's always negative. I thought that if we could get this off the ground, we would hear good things. The fact that I'm doing this as a former NHL player puts the program in the limelight, and we can all take the opportunity to educate the rest of Canada about what goes on in Nunavik, says Juneau, who has spoken about his experiences in front of the Federal Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The problem with relations between the Inuit and the rest of Canada is largely one of ignorance. The program started with clinics in each of Nunavik's 14 fly-in, fly-out villages. I didn't quite know where to start with the kids, so I figured we'd start at the beginning. Juneau says of the first on-ice sessions. We did a lot of basic skills. At the beginning, nobody passed or watched their teammates, and you can't succeed that way. As a player, I was always the playmaker, so that really bugged me. The kids learned fast. When you watch them play now, says Juneau, the teamwork, the passing game, is a thing of beauty. Coming together on the ice has paid off massively for the players. As the program has progressed, Juneau and his team have been able to develop competitive teams for boys and girls, and even send teams to the Quebec International Pee Wee Tournament. We need to keep pushing the kids to improve, Juneau says. If you play in your village, that's great, but if you know you're working for a chance to go to training camp in the south or represent Team Nunavik, then that's really something. In their early years at the tournament, which draws teams of 11 to 13-year-old players from around the world, the Nunavik Nordiques boys team regularly lost their games by large margins. In February of this year, they won the tournament and were greeted by a cheering crowd at Quebec Airport. The girls team has also had some success at tournaments in Ontario. But for Juneau, trophies aren't the biggest sign of his program success. I always say I'm trying to work myself out of a job. We need this program to belong to the people of Nunavik one day. Now some people who have been my players have become coaches and assistant coaches, and hearing them coach the kids in their own language is wonderful. Juneau estimates the program has made an impact on more than 5,000 young Inuit on and off the ice in its first decade of existence. You learn to be a better skater, but you also learn to work hard and respect yourself and your teammates. You learn how to stay focused and how to eat and how to take care of yourself to stay healthy. If you learn that right, it stays with you for life. The program has worked so well that Juneau is exporting it to his hometown of Pont-Rouge near Quebec City. I always figured I would give back to my hometown, and when I presented the idea this spring, it was very well received. Doing it exactly 10 years after starting in Nunavik is great. I'd love to be working hand in hand with the school boards, the communities, and Hockey Quebec all across the province. Why that's not already done with our national sport is beyond me. Why not now?
Thank you for listening to the Life in Quebec podcast. For more news, commentary, editorials, and opinion, visit lifeinquebec.com/podcast.